Welcome back, everybody, for another episode of LPM podcast. This is going to be episode 3. In this podcast, we've been going over aspects of the hobby, their definitions, and some information from an informed guest about them. Today's episode is going to be about binders, and binders have been a huge part of card collecting in sports, in Marvel, in non-sports cards, in DC, and everything. So today's guest is going to give us the full breakdown about his binders and his journey through curating his collection. And who else better to do it than my dear friend, Norrin. Hello.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. You're the perfect guy to talk to about this. You want to give yourself a quick introduction of who you collect?
Absolutely. My name is Fausto Bonarovo, also known as Sketch Card Hive, also known as Norrin, and I collect the Silver Surfer.
Right on. I think everybody knows you in the hobby, but for those of you who are new to the hobby, this is a really important collector who's kind of written a lot of the book on master collecting. And what a better person to have on to talk about where to store your master collection. And we'll talk about some binders.
Man, binders. I've had a huge hate and love relationship with binders, but with master collecting, just so everybody knows, since this is more of an educational video, it is just different levels of collecting. So master collecting is really looking at, for my aspect of it, in terms of character, and we'll talk about a set as well, because I did master collect a insert set, and I'll show you that binder that I put together, and typically how binders go always for a lot of these OG collectors. Master collecting for me as a character collector is collecting every Silver Surfer that's come out. That's including one of one. So either you have the one of one, if there is one, or a sketch one of one, or a comic cut one of one, or even a printing plate comic one of one. So typically this goes from the first year the character is introduced into cards to the most recent date, or to a date that you decide to stop on. And that's every rendition, a sketch card from everything, printing plates from everything. It's a huge checklist, but just so everybody knows at home.
Thank you. Thank you for introducing people to these terms. They're important terms. It can be, you hear them and you can wonder, like, what on earth does that mean? It's nice to get a solid description.
Also, who to stay away from. So you know what I mean? So like crazy people like myself, you're like, you know what, that guy's just too off the reservation. Just leave him in the corner over there.
I love it. What was the first set that you put in a binder when you were a kid?
Probably 92 mm. Was the first time I put a set in a binder. I remember those gold foil borders with the blue underlay and the black underlay. And I remember seeing those in a binder for the first time, that glossy kind of shine on there. That was pretty mind-blowing for me. And I used to binder a lot of things when I was a kid. And then the dangerous truth about binders that eventually happens to all of us is where you get that ring indentation on your cards when you're flipping too hardcore. You close the binder and you're not sure. That happened to me, which broke my heart because it did bend some cards or whatever. So I kind of stepped away from binders for a long time, and then recently came back to it because the collection had gotten so large. Yeah. So, and most people, when they do binder collections, they do them a very specific way, at least for a lot of Marvel card collectors I've met. And there's so many people out there who do very intense binder collecting, but I'll show you guys an example of something to give you a little clue of what the set bindering looks like nowadays. So this is my set binder for MM18. Now, MM18 is so large, so massive, and I've seen completed binders. Actually, I saw some at OAX from a very big collector. We all lost our minds. Craziness. Black hole collector invited us to his house for a barbecue, and we saw the most, oh my God, I have so much we have to still catch up about. But this is very similar to how it looks. So this one, however, is very specific to the MM18 preliminary art set, which I'm just a huge fan of. So what you have here, this is the redemption card to getting one of the original prelim arts, which is pretty cool.
And could you tell us what a redemption card is?
Absolutely. So a redemption card, especially for masterpieces, which is where I think it was first. No, it wasn't first introduced there, because 1998 has the first redemption card for the dual auto.
But redemption 96 has a redemption card that was never pulled.
96 has 9 redemption cards, 9 paintings, and those variously have been pulled or not pulled. I've seen those redemption cards.
Really?
They're so stupid.
Okay, so sorry, tell us what they are. Tell us what they are.
They're crazy. So basically, redemption cards, you would open a pack and you get a card in there, and the card says, you get to redeem X. So for Masterpieces, famously, 1996, you got to redeem one of the original art pieces. And there were 9 of them. Now, 1996, Marvel Masterpieces, 96 was the year that Marvel started declining and everything started going haywire. So you had very expensive box of cards with redemption art paintings, but a lot of people didn't understand. It was new. So a lot of them went under the wire. And a lot of those, that set is still very beloved and very collected today. But nowadays, like a modern Marvel Masterpiece set, like the 2022 one, just recently, the redemption card for one of the art pieces was pulled for one of the canvases. It's either going to be Spider-Man or Thor. And we're all waiting somewhat patiently to see which upper deck gives this guy, if they give him Thor or Spider-Man. So it's going to be pretty epic. But yeah, that's what a redemption card is. This one in particular is for 2018. And basically it looks like this.
Amazing.
And then you scratch to get this code. You go online, put this code in, and then they send you whatever you redeem.
And this is the first card in your binder of this set. That is so cool.
Yeah, so this is the first card in the binder. I didn't put the artwork in here. That's in a portfolio, but I consider this part of the insert set because of the front and because it's preliminary art. This pretty much belongs to the set. Now, this again is not how you have to do it. This is an insanity that
yes, it is.
Very few of us who have escaped the mental institution are doing right now. But most sets, even sets that are not expensive, this is how a lot of people do it. They flatten the box. So you have the box in here in the first one. And these are 8x10 Ultra Pro sleeves. So you can buy these on Amazon or wherever you want. This is the inner of that box. Yeah. And then a lot of people flatten packs.
Yeah.
They do this. And then this information was the stuff that was at the event at Metropolitan when Simone first showed his artwork to people. A lot of pieces were sold already before the show. But, you know, there were some pieces there for sale that people did buy, but this was the first like promotional material for the set. And then you go into the set. And you just get to see kind of it all together.
So this is all of the prelim art. Are these numbered?
So the way they're inserted in the box, they're not hard numbered, but there's only 100 of each.
Wow.
Because you would get so many per box.
Right.
Is it 1 per box? Something like that. So there's only 100 of every card. So only 100 possible sets.
Amazing. And you have the master collection set of this insert set.
I have a complete insert set.
So cool. So that's I'm just noticing looking through that binder, there's no ring like you had mentioned. So that's a ringless binder?
So this one has a ring. Okay. I have a ringless binder next to me. The reason I like this one for the rings is because this is actually an archive box for photographs. Okay. So it's not your typical binder. The reason I like it so much is you can see it has a flat surface on the bottom.
Yeah.
And a flat surface here and here. So if this is put this way,
yeah,
the pages don't do this.
I love it. Right.
And no sunlight. So you can keep this in a bookcase and not worry about the top of the cards getting faded with normal binders.
You know what? So on that point, yesterday I got a box of a set that I had bought. I think it was Silver Age, and I opened it up, and it had come in a binder. And when I opened it up from the packaging, the entire top of the binder, the plastic disintegrated. And so this point that Fausto is getting at is actually really, really important. It will ruin your binder. It will ruin your cards.
So I like this archival box, PVC, whatever, all that kind of important stuff. Sits in here nice, firm.
Yeah.
And there's no weight on the binders, no weight on the cards, because you mentioned earlier thick cards. Yeah. I think you had a question on that.
Yeah, I do want to talk about that. So, these binders were so manageable when we were younger when it was 35 point. Now that the card stocks have gotten thicker for what they're calling higher end cards or whatever have you, how has that changed binders in your experience? And let's see what you got going with the thicker cards.
So what they've just recently come up with is called a top loader binder. Top loaders are, you've seen them around, they're hard plastic shells, and you put the card in there and it's kind of sealed up. Now
Yeah.
you can place that top loader, right, in a sleeve called a team bag. That way the card doesn't slip out. So you can have your card single like this.
Yeah.
What I did and what I started doing was that I had all my master set, and I have like 7 binders of cards, 250. It's
Insane.
it's insane now. Um, but they were in a box, and I liked thumbing through them because I'm one of those people who are half cat, half human. I love boxes, and I like the old librarian card things. I like pretending I'm like, well,
I
nut job.
love it.
I'm nut job, but I think a lot of us like that sensation of flipping through cards. Just recently, though, they came out with top loader binders, and top loader binders have a couple of great features to me. I'm not sponsored by any of this. This is just me after many years of being insane enough to finally figure out, okay, this is what I like. No rings. Cards are protected in the top loader, right? So no extra dust. No, they don't move around, and they're not pressing on each other. Sometimes you have sketch cards you want to put in binders or printing plates. You don't really want too much weight or thicker cards on thin cards to put too much weight. But when you have thick cards and thin cards in the same binder, but they're all top loaded, the ridges of the top loader actually hold the weight.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
they're not on each other, which is what you want to avoid.
So that's a great point that you were bringing up. So with the top loaded binders, they're really, in your experience, there's no issues with having different size cardstock mixed together within the pages.
I keep my binders standing. So, and I'll show you the insanity of on my list, which is what made me eventually do a binder as well. So that's here. But here's an example of it. You buy whatever top loader binder you want. There's Kickstarters, they're everywhere. This is the one I landed on because they're clear pages. And I needed clear pages because Marvel cards are very different than Pokemon or Magic the Gathering. I prefer seeing the back of Marvel cards because they are so dynamic, right? Marvel cards have that kind of extra oomph by having the design on the back, the written up on the back. So I prefer seeing them. So this is top loader binder. They're much bigger than a regular binder. It zips up, so no light. I made a binder tag because I'm very weird.
So you've custom made these yourself?
Yeah, so I made these. So they are binders.
Yeah.
I call them binder tags. I'm sure someone else has done this, but laminated.
I don't know if someone else has done that. You're the first guy I saw do it.
I don't know, but I put the year on the bottom. So 1966 to 1992, volume 1. And I have 7 volumes, meaning 7 binders. And then I put Tom Morgan MMU 90 Surfer on here, but the green background is a callback to Silver Surfer 1. So I thought that was a cool design decision.
Can I ask you really quickly while we're kind of going through all these questions? So with these binder tags that you've made, you're curating a collection. I mean, you have it in chronological order through having the dates on these tags. How has having these binders assisted in you curating your collection?
So the reason I had them in a box and everything top loaded, the only thing that doesn't work in these type of binders are oversized cards. Those I decided to put in a box alone. I did at one point have the collection in this stuff with different types of pages, and they held various size cards. It drove me crazy because you could have an oversized card that was really thin, sticker like, and then you would have a thicker card on top or on back. So then I had to place an 8x10 sleeve with a hard cardboard paper in there so they don't wobble.
That's right.
Or warp. It drove me nuts. So I was like, that's enough of this. And I put the oversized cards in a box because it's very rare for it to happen anyway. And they're just separate. And that's how it's going to be until I go crazy again and do this all over. which happens every 3 years.
So I was going to say, so how many renditions of these binders have you done? Have you, like, this is something that seems to be consistently changing for you?
I found it. So I've been collecting surfaces as a kid. And then in 2011, 2012, I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go nuts, which is what you and I always talk about, right? And I had a little antique suitcase thing about the size of the screen, right? And have it on my page or something like that. And I basically filled that up with sketch cards I really liked, and very quickly realized this is not going to work. And now I have this craziness.
Oh boy.
And so after I did that suitcase thing, which I really liked it being neat and compact, very quickly I realized this is not going to work. So it went from that to regular binders. Hated rings, was too nervous about it, didn't like the pages doing that. And then I put them out of it, put them in top loaders and team bags, had a box with dividers, all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, I need archival safe stuff because I'm tired of flipping through them in a box because the box is too flimsy, which went here.
Yeah.
And then from here, I was like, you know what? I like these top loader things. These top loader binders seem to make a lot of sense. Let's try it out. I didn't like it at first because it didn't have a clear back.
Yes. Yeah.
It bothered the hell out of me. I didn't like it at all. And then they came out with a clear back and it was affordable. And I was like, okay, I'm going for it. And that is how I ended up here.
Wow. Here we go. So on your channel, Sketch Card Hive, you've done some great videos of you flipping through these binders and displaying a huge part of your master collection, correct?
Yeah, so I purposely kept out printing plates, autographs, any rare hit under 10, because there are a lot of counterfeits and people screen grabbing and trying to sell things on eBay.
Right.
So, and sketches. I hid sketches too.
Yeah.
So that was my reasoning for not putting it there. I wish I could actually just show everything and have it exist. And you and I are talking, eventually something like that will happen. But right now, that was like the safest bet to do. So right now I am putting like sketches and stuff in the binders near their sets and stuff like that. Cool. You know what I mean? So I am doing that now to put them in there. But
I'll make sure I include a link in the description to Sketch Card Hive videos about these binders. The Sketch Card Hive channel is where I've learned so much about card collecting, storing them, and just all of it. I'll include a link there. I really encourage you to take a look at that. It's so cool, especially if you're interested in binders.
I think the other thing I will say about binders, and we talked briefly about this, was I think the binder experience for me now was a lot more fun because I had organized in a box in top loaders beforehand. And what that be, so there's a lot of cards, and you're doing this now, and you totally get where this is going.
Oh yeah.
You don't know every foreign card. You don't know every TCG card because they're not always tied with your character name, right? There's a lot of things you don't know when you binder. It's kind of like when you cook. You don't cook pulling things out of the fridge and start all the meals, right? You do all your ingredients first, and then you assemble. Same thing with binders. I do not suggest you build a binder while building your master set.
Very good point. That's the tip. That's the tip of the podcast right there, actually, people. So I'm in the exact situation right now where I've just bought a top loader binder, but I'm going to only put base in my first binder so that I can do it through the checklist. So if there's anything that's missing in it, I can leave the gap there to prevent me from having to go back and reorganize this whole thing. I'll do a different binder for the other stuff, but I'm going to start there and try to do it once, kind of thing. I mean, that's a great tip.
That's what happened to me too. I did the US official release binder only.
Cool.
And then it really helped me get a really firm grasp on what the binder would look like. And then I was like, I'm just going to include everything in the binder. But the problem was, I was like, how do I leave space open if I find new cards? And then I did this. I went by year. Yeah. So in this first page is actually empty. But It's just in case there's something I didn't find out, because I found out about this only like a year and a half ago. This is the Marvel Mania membership card.
Wow.
I thought this Topps card was the first one of Surfer. And then Miles, our Namor buddy, found me this card, which is a Spanish card that predates the Topps.
Wow.
So it's been like a year and a half of like, when did this character first get in a card? So what I did was I left this opening page blank, put the membership in the middle, which I think aesthetically looks really nice.
Looks amazing.
And then I put these guys up here, and then this toy from the Marvel playset. So I put the toy cardboard thing in there. And then here is something I also included, which now this is not for the faint of heart. So if you can't handle the madness I'm about to tell you, I suggest you pause and come back later. This is a checklist for this set. And the reason I did that was because it says Silver Surfer. And I thought aesthetically, look at his face. Grant is like, absolutely.
Absolutely. It's a must. It's a must.
A must. So I did that also because it's a nice little divider for when a new set starts. So then that's what ended up happening there. So that's the madness there.
With your group of friends that you collect cards with and participate in the hobby with, do you find that binders are still relevant, or are you one of the only ones doing them still? There's a nostalgia factor? Like, what's the current state of binders with your friend collecting?
It's funny, and I'm putting my camera on so you guys can see a little bit better. It's kind of funny to see this stuff because honestly, when you meet people in this hobby, the real killer part is seeing all these guys, these old school collectors, and they are very much binders. That's how you know some of the OGs when you see them, because they are in fact doing binders. I don't think binders are old fashioned at all. I think eventually we all come back to them, and I think if they continue to advance how they make them, that this is the way to go. Rub off tattoos, Spanish, Pogs. Miles found me this card, which is one of my favorite cards in the collection.
Unreal.
Parody cards, Pogs. Some Pogs you can't, put in here because they're slammers.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Look at that.
But checklist. And then what was nice here is I had a nice little moment here where all my vintage stopped at the natural divide of the binder.
Yeah.
So all this starts 1990.
Very cool. And it's interesting to say all your vintage stopped and then it's 1990. Some of you character collectors out there have only characters starting in 1990. So it's interesting to see how much you have from before that.
It's really interesting to see how that worked out because you're kind of like, vintage is tough. Vintage is really tough because you just don't realize how much is kind of there. You know what I mean? Like people say, "Oh, this is the rookie card." Blah blah blah. I was like, I don't care about that stuff. It's not about the rookie card. It's about understanding the history of Marvel cards, right? Because technically, Marvel cards really start in 1966 with Don Russ, but there were foreign cards. There's the membership card for Marvel Mania, which maybe some don't consider a card. You know what I mean? So it's all that weird kind of like weird line. But if you're a character collector and a set collector and you're collecting it in a binder, if you come across it, it's kind of hard to be like, does that fit? But it fits in a card shape. You know, you make all these kind of weird arrangements. But if I could give any advice for building binders with cards and curating the set in a binder, is that just amass as much as you can.
Right.
Worry about the technicality stuff later.
Have fun with it. Have as much fun as humanly possible with it.
Yeah.
So your binder collection, you're saying that you store it upright. What are you like? I store all my binders. I have 75 sets in binders. And I bought the exact same binder across the board. I go on Amazon and I buy the 12 box of half-inch black binders, and I never stray from it. They're 3-ring. I store mine on the bookshelf. I have an IKEA bookshelf that is corked. So what are you keeping your binders on? Is it a bookshelf? Is it a display case?
So the way I did mine, and I'll have you guys walk with me. The way I did mine was that I wanted to put it in my display case. So I'll go ahead and bring you guys over here.
Thank you for doing this.
Oh, please. No big deal at all. I don't mind. All right. So get my camera out of the shot so you guys can come with me. So I did this. This is why I did the binder tags too, is that I wanted to really look at the stuff in order and kind of enjoy it next to my display. So what I did was, I can show you now, is I went ahead and put them in this display. Johnny gave me that. I love that movie. Little silver.
Beautiful.
And then I put it right next to the statue because I thought that would be really cool and how it's going there. And then, kind of just slip it in there. And then it's all in order. And the binder tags in it.
Very, very nice. I feel like this gives that, it gives your collection the respect it deserves by having it organized in this way and stored and displayed so well.
The problem was I didn't want to just keep a binder in a Tupperware bin. By the way, if you're putting binders in Tupperware bins, make sure they're the moisture sealed ones. And they have this little ring on them.
Yeah.
I like those a lot. And then, put them in there. This is funny. This is the suitcase I was telling you about when I first started.
Wow. That's so cool.
And there you go.
Well, fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Of course.
I think there's a lot of people who are into this hobby as kids. And I think everyone who enjoyed it as a kid remembers the binder because we all had school binders. It was such an easy transition to go putting card sleeves in and then just putting them in. As the world's changed and cards got thicker, even myself, I struggle with finding ways to store them. And I would love to see binders make a bit of a bigger comeback. I'd love to see binders become something a bit more normal. I saw in your OAX visits there was an MM22 binder that was going around. It looked like it was the biggest book ever, but it was so cool. And I love seeing the binder coming back.
It's really hard with modern sets because they're so massive.
Yeah.
My biggest suggestion would be top load binder, and then I would just divide the binder over the different type of inserts. Mm-hmm. Like you saw in my 2018 preliminary art. Very manageable, very nicely centered. It works out really well. I like the idea of keeping it by insert. I think that's really fun to do. Like for me, 2018 has such a special place in my heart. I just love that set because it's just my aesthetic. Like it's total bias. It's just my aesthetic for art. And I really fell in love with the preliminary art set, which is the first time they did that in an MM series. And I love seeing the thought process, especially with Simone and how he does his work. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to binder collect this one. And it was nice because it was manageable.
I love how you've also somewhat incorporated into almost being like a scrapbook, how you have the packs, the box, the art giveaways, I love that you have more than just the set in there. I think that is such a cool thing.
Most people actually have something even crazier, which I just remembered because you decide to befriend crazy people.
True.
But so this one's pretty fun. Also, too, design your own binders. Don't buy people's designs on their binders and stuff like that because a lot of people sell that stuff, and there actually are official Marvel binders out there for specific sets. So try to get those. I know people make custom things and all that stuff. Try to make your own. It's fun. I made this one for me because I went kind of crazy on Marvel Legends card set. They gave out these packs when you bought an action figure at GameStop. Super rare. Super hard. Crazy stuff. So I put the checklist on the back, a picture of the pack, and just designed it like that because it looked cool. And then what people normally do, keep promotional material, whatever, but they actually keep a sealed pack or 2 or 4.
Yes.
So wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, sealed packs, open packs. And since there was no box or anything like that, I don't have that. There is a promotional material, but I don't have it. And then you have the cards.
Amazing.
And then so those are the regulars, and then these are the foils, which are super nice.
The binder, the classic old binder.
Classic old binder.
I think you've answered everything that I wanted to ask, and I really appreciate you joining for this conversation. Like I said, I think you're the perfect guest to talk about this.
There are a lot of really great people out there who are even more serious about binders, but I really appreciate you having me on because I have just gone through the madness of trying to figure this out. So I appreciate you having me on.
Can you let us know what's happening next on Sketchcard Hive? What's going on your channel?
Well, I hit my 100th video when I was at OAX. I know. So I want to do a character roundtable. We have the OAA recap, which is tomorrow, I think. So we'll be showing off our cards, talking about what the event was, and basically kind of like it's time to start coordinating some shows with Marvel card collectors. It was way too much fun. I have way too many friends in this hobby. Fortunate to have a lot of friends in this hobby. There's no reason why we can't hang out like twice a year, once a year, and have a good time and look at Marvel cards. So
if for whatever reason you are not aware of Sketchcard Hive, make sure you get over there, like, subscribe. Great videos, absolutely great. One of my favorite channels out there. You got to check it out.
man. I appreciate it, brother.
Thanks so much for joining. We'll wrap it up here. If you guys have questions, please leave them in the comments. I'll get back to you. If I don't have the answer, I'll find it and I'll get back to you with the right answer. Thanks so much for joining, everyone. And Fausto, you're the absolute best. Thanks for joining, buddy.
You're the best, man. Thank you for having me on. Later, everybody.